We see Magneto's helmet as Amphibious says it is perfect, but Magneto himself disagrees. Having only been able to craft a replacement due to the materials available in the Savage Land, he dons the helmet so that when he fights, he is instantly recognized. Switching to Bobby and Carl, we see the amnesiac Bobby as he asks the man for his name, and he gives him Joe Smith. Bobby jokes of how it's fake, which irritates Carl, who hopes that the name will not trigger any memories of him. Drake apologizes then for offending him. We switch to Alex and Lorna as he jokes again about her codename. She tells him to stop as she knows Magnetrix wasn't the best pick, as she points out that he got his from a villain. Before he can retort, the mini Cerebro detects Bobby on the island underneath them. Swapping to Illinois, Ashley's mother moves towards her daughter amid the destroyed Sentinel, noting that she made it rip itself apart as Hank warns her to be careful when Ashley says it's the robot's own fault for attacking her. Looking to Xavier, she blames him for the robot attacking, and while agreeing, he also points out that it was only a matter of time until it attacked her as well. Ashley's mother, Terry, doesn't know what to make of her powers, but feels that she always knew that her daughter's toys were alive when Charles calls it psychokinetic bonding. He believes that Ashley puts her life force into non-living matter to control it as he approaches her. Yelling for him to stay back, she shoots his wheelchair back into the tree, destroying it as Hank barely saves him. His theory affirmed, he realizes that it's like Jean's telekinesis. We turn to the ship at sea as it's about to make port, and we see one of the deformed people carrying Candy, noting that it's unfortunate that she's unconscious. However, she was merely pretending as she moves quick and knocks the man's heads together as she sneaks out and up a ladder. Above, Kruger sees his customers approaching on a speedboat. In the boat is Unus and Mastermind as they board the ship. Kruger shows them the unconscious teens when they ask where the third is, and he tells them that Marvel Girl is still below. Mastermind, however, points out that Jean is right there, and confused, Kruger hears Candy behind him as she throws a hook that smacks his head, knocking him out. The others see her, and she runs, less confident in her plan to help the others. Entering a room to hide, she sees it's filled with the deformed people, and she runs as they start chasing her, as her hopes of Scott and Jean waking up due to knocking Kruger out were dashed. Knowing she can't swim to shore to escape, she enters a door and, taking the stairs, notices that they seem to go on forever and can't find a way out. We see that she's actually been caught and put into an illusion by Mastermind, who is commended by Kruger when Unus makes a crack about his ego. Annoyed, he projects snakes onto Unus, who drops Candy when Kruger yells for them to quit bickering with each other. Getting back to business, he tells Mastermind that he wants $100,000 for the pair, and Mastermind effortlessly pulls the money out of his jacket with a huge grin. Back at their base, Fred Dukes laughs at how they tricked the man again with fake money, as Mastermind tells him that the ones that are most easily fooled by his illusions are the ones who think they see through them. Unus laughs at how he played up with fighting Mastermind as they enter a room where they look upon the X-Men imprisoned in their cages. Turning to Magneto, he and Amphibious are going through a cave when they reach an open cavern swamped with heat, as he explains to his lackey that the heat is what keeps the Savage Land warm. Noting that the machinery there shows that others have been there before him, he sees that it was an attempt to harness the geothermal energy of the area. He then takes control of the flowing lava, enslaving it to his will, ready to be used when needed. Turning to Bobby, he has a nagging feeling that there's something more to Joe Smith, even though he's only helped him and that he's noticed tension during their conversations when he sees him in a tree below. Having been told that he's normally meditating during this time of day, Bobby finds it odd as he looks like he's hunting instead. We then see Carl as he leaps from the branches and grabs hold of the dinosaur that just emerged from the brush so that he can feed upon it. Wondering what he's doing, Drake follows as he watches him take the dinosaur down. Seeing him crouched over it, he sees him feeding on his victim. Going up to him and asking what's going on, Carl is desperate to hide his identity as Bobby demands to know why he's not answering. Suddenly, an energy blast shoots down between them, separating the two. Looking up, they see Magneto as he is claiming the resources of the island as his own and releases another blast to get rid of them. Running, Bobby feels the name Magneto is very familiar to him and feels helpless as he sees the villain fly by him. Proceeding forward, he spots Carl, who yells for him to stay away, but ignoring the warning, proceeds forward and Lycos latches onto him when he's close enough, beginning the process of draining his energy. His transformation begins once again as he grows in power and confidence in his ability to fend off the invader of the island as Sauron roams the land once again. Returning to Alex, he asks Lorna if she's alright as she says that she's feeling a little dizzy and he hopes that she didn't catch something while there. Suddenly, he sees all the instruments on the ship go haywire and he loses control of it as he begins to plunge downward. Trying to raise the ship a little, they manage it just in time to spot and avoid hitting Iceman, who is right beneath them. Continuing onward, they crash into the dense brush before coming to a standstill when Bobby rises and looks at the mess. We see Sauron as he flies above Magneto, who is unaware of the transformed Lycos, when Amphibious asks if Magneto was successful. Affirming he was and praising his lackey for doing well, he proceeds to explore the island when Sauron claims the island is his and, unaware of his powers, looks directly into his eyes. Suddenly, he is in the ruins of a destroyed city, wondering how he got there, when Cyclops appears telling him that he should stop thinking as he unleashes an optic blast that nearly hits him. From behind him, Beast unleashes a powerful kick upon him. Knocking him back though, and still confused as to his whereabouts, he prepares to unleash his full power only to learn that it refuses to work for him as Jean shows up behind him and violently rips up the debris beneath Magneto, sending him flying. Making his way to the crash, Bobby can't shake the feeling of alarm at having heard the name Karl Lycos after he turned into Sauron when he finds Alex and finds that he's okay and looks familiar. Feeling his memories teetering on the edge of returning, they come flooding back as he recognizes Lorna. Checking on her whether she's okay, he's glad that seeing her brought everything back to him. Turning, they see the two villains still fighting, and Lorna asks how the three of them will stop them when Alex pops up between them, having regained consciousness, and suggests that they let the two finish each other off. Bobby, skeptical, points out that Sauron feeds on mutant energy and becomes more powerful the more he gets. Asking again what they can do, they watch as Iceman freezes up. Feeling recovered from Sauron's attack, he raises an ice wall between the two, cutting them off, and Magneto, recovering from the illusion, notes that they're the youngest of Charles' combatants, as Lorna tells Sauron that they're strong enough to beat him. Hearing the winged monster's name, Magneto mocks it for its origins, but instead turns to Alex and Lorna, noting that he's not met them before, to Lorna's surprise as she remembers him claiming to be her father a while ago. Though he no longer has the element of surprise, Sauron makes use of what's around him as he flies down and stares into Havoc's eyes. He boasts of Havoc's superior power to his brother Cyclops, and hearing this, Magneto blocks a blast from the younger Summers brother while learning of the relationship. Unleashing a blast of his own back at them, Bobby sees Lorna suddenly become dizzy. Returning to normal, he catches her and she mentions it's the same feeling as when she and Alex were heading to the island, as Magneto brags that his power is greater than Havoc's. Seeking an advantage in the fight, he then calls forth the lava from before as it erupts behind him and flows towards Alex, who tries blasting it as Sauron sees the villain is manipulating the magma just as he had hoped to. Back to Bobby, he's following Lorna as she heads into the jungle, confident in the fact that her dizziness is linked to when Magneto unleashes his powers. She also notes that as they get closer, she gets dizzier when they happen upon Amphibious messing with some of the equipment. Taking charge, Iceman freezes and destroys the device the mutate is handling, and this shocks Magneto as his powers disappear. Falling onto the rocky magma, he realizes that the X-Men must have found Amphibious as Sauron gloats of his victory thanks to the heroes when Magneto tells the winged monster that the ground is unstable and that it will turn into a sea of lava unless he saves him and helps him defeat the X-Men. Sauron is skeptical, wanting to know what he would gain, and is told that power would be his and that he would have his own place once he rules the world. Deciding against it though, as he would still be a lackey of Magneto's, he flies away and the rock he's on crumbles into the lava. Turning to Bobby, we see him freezing the magma, attempting to save Magneto from his fate, but is only able to freeze the surface layer of the lava as the heat begins to affect him. Seeing what he did, Alex and Lorna worry about Iceman when Sauron sneaks up behind them and catches both of their eyes. He locks them in place so that he can begin feeding upon their mutant energies. However, he is shot from behind by a harsh blast of snowy ice. Lorna sees that Iceman is alright, however he couldn't save Magneto though Alex tells him he did his best. Interrupting before the two can start fighting again, Lorna asks what to do about Sauron. The villain, however, tells them that the answer is nothing, as he knows that's what he must do with them, for if he kills them, the others will come after him, which he doesn't want, and begins flying away as he catches their gaze again. However, he has found a place of peace and removes their memories of both him and their fight with Magneto. We then see them on the ship as they only remember picking up Bobby and are confused as to what caused the crash landing. Below, watching them fly away, is Amphibious as he turns back into his normal form, no longer powered by Magneto, and returns to his life in the Savage Land. Days later, at the site of the conflict, deep inside the Earth's crust, an explosion rocks out and Magneto emerges, having been supported by the last of the gas from the city, and is barely even able to support himself. Unable to move far, he crumbles to the ground. 2 days after that, off the coast of the Savage Land, we see Prince Namor of Atlantis as he is investigating a shockwave that emanated from there and goes to look for himself. Diving into the water, he feels how it's warm when it should be cold, and breaking the surface, finds the Savage Land and sees pterodactyls heading towards the shore. Wondering about the smoldering site, he finds a sole survivor and grabs the flying reptiles that have descended. Shouting his battle cry of Imperious Rex, he effortlessly hurls them away. Seeing that the man is alive, he chooses to take him to Atlantis to heal him, as he recognizes Magneto and doesn't trust him at all due to their past dealings. Flying away, he returns home, determined not to let Magneto lead him to ruin, little dreaming of the events that will come to pass.